Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. John Bukowski, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story. And our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today. And then I want to talk about these two amazing thriller novels that you've written. Is that cool?
Great. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And I always love to talk about my books and my writing.
I love it. So I'm excited to have you here. So where were you born?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
I was the youngest of 6 children.
Wow.
And grew up in a lower middle class family. Father was a factory worker.
Yeah.
And went to Catholic school right through high school. And then I went into college at Wayne State University.
Okay.
I've had the mixed blessing of being a person who is interested in a lot of different things and is good at a lot of different things, at least academically.
Yeah.
So for me, there was lots of paths I could have taken.
Right.
I focused on science.
Okay.
And I really wanted to become a veterinarian.
Okay.
So that was when I had open slots where I could get electives, history and English.
Yeah.
Those were fun.
Okay.
But science and math was kind of what I had to push because when you go try out for veterinary school, you better have the grades in science.
Yeah, no kidding.
And especially biology and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was accepted at Michigan State University in their veterinary school, class of 1981.
Beautiful.
Graduated and went on to start being a veterinary practice. Was practiced for about 7 years. And probably about 5 years in, I thought maybe I want to do something else that doesn't involve so many life and death decisions.
Oh, yeah.
In veterinary medicine, I mean, you do hundreds of euthanasias. You
Yeah.
do surgeries by yourself where it's you and the animal and God.
Yeah.
And that's all you got.
Yeah.
So I went from that and I started working in a master's program in public health epidemiology, studying the patterns of disease and the causes of disease.
Okay.
And I got my master's, I think it was in '87, and started doing public health epidemiology work first with state government in New Jersey
Wow.
Department of Environmental Protection. My wife to be at that time had moved to New Jersey, so I followed her out.
Gotcha.
And then I thought I would try to advance my education more, and I started a PhD in epidemiology program at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
I got that in '97, continued to work in the field until about 2008. And then I branched off to do medical writing as a consultant. And the reason for that is throughout all of this stuff, when I was working in government and in industry doing research, I found over time I was writing more and researching less. And there's a couple reasons for that. First, I like to do it.
Yeah.
And the more creative, the better. Certainly, research articles were okay. But if I could branch into blue sky thought pieces, things like that, I was much happier.
Yeah.
And second, the people I worked for recognized I was good at it.
Yeah.
So they started saying, we got this tough thought piece. Give that to John.
Right.
It was one of those kind of things. So I started doing more and more of that. So when I branched off into writing as just a medical writer,
Yeah.
the bread and butter was journal articles.
Gotcha.
It was kind of a cookbook. But every chance I got, I did things like consumer handbooks, advertorials. I did over 100 2-minute radio scripts for a thing called Animal Airwaves, which was the University of Florida veterinary school down there.
There you go.
Radio station.
Yeah.
And around 2009 or so, what's the big thing that happened? Well, the Great Recession.
Yeah.
You're working as a contractor for people who's got to spend their money, and you're in a big recession, they're not going to spend their money.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, business dried up.
Yeah.
My wife's
You become a discretionary expense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
My wife's editorial business was still going good. So we had money coming in, but now I had time. And I tried to look at it as the gift of time.
Sure.
Because as a writer, medical writer, that doesn't matter who you are. If you're a medical writer, a script writer, a copywriter, every writer wants to write the great American novel.
Really? Okay.
It's just the writer's makeup. You always think, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be Stephen King or Rowling or something like that.
There you go. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. And so I figured I have the time to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Why not?
So I took about 6-7 months, and I actually wrote a thriller. It's still on my computer. Probably will never see the light of day. It's what Stephen King calls a trunk novel, or in my case, a computer novel.
Yeah. What's it called?
The name of it was, what was the name of it? It was No Good Deed.
Okay.
But it got me started. I said, this was a lot of fun to do.
So what's it about?
What it's about was about a hitman, a high-priced hitman.
Yeah.
Who did pro bono work.
Ooh.
Also. But
interesting.
He did it without the knowledge of the people he was assisting. He took it upon himself, if he saw a situation, to rectify it.
Yeah.
Use the skills that he had.
Yeah.
And that was basically the premise. And of course, one hit that he does as pro bono goes out of control on him.
Yeah.
So his whole idea, no good deed goes unpunished.
Right. So we're talking about the equalizer, but an assassin. Right. Okay. Okay.
So
I'm liking this. This sounds like a movie to me.
That got me started. And even when business picked up doing medical writing again,
yeah,
kept doing short stories. I putter with short stories. I started a couple novels.
Yeah.
And finally, around 2015, 2016, we were financially set enough where I could say, okay, I could do this full time.
Right.
And then I started completing novels and spending years polishing them up. And I got my first one published in 2022.
Yeah.
Through a small Indiana press called Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And this one right here, Project Suicide. And got my next one published last year. And it's this one, Checkout Time.
Yeah.
And I've been going since then.
I love it. Can I back up for just a second and ask a couple of questions? What was your favorite thing about growing up in Detroit?
Well, the thing that sticks out in my memory from my childhood much is the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
I started following baseball when I was 11 at the age of 11 in 67.
Yeah.
And in 68, they were world champions.
Yeah.
So I was hooked at that point.
I love it.
I mean, I listened to the games on the radio and kept score.
There you go.
I made myself.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of stuff. I was dedicated. Me and Ernie Harwell and George Kell and Al Kaline, you know, we were buds.
I love it.
And so, yeah, that is the thing that sticks out the most. And that, of course, automobiles. Everybody was involved at that time, at least, in automobiles one way or another.
Yeah.
My father worked as a precision grinder, and a lot of their gears went to automotive. Everybody was involved in automotive.
Yeah.
And the cars, you see cars everywhere, up and down Woodward Avenue, that kind of
Well,
stuff.
that's Detroit, right?
Yeah, that's Detroit.
Car capital of the world. So, next question: who was the most influential person to you growing up?
In what way? Obviously, my parents were very influential.
Yeah.
But you mean in some other thing, like a writing
No,
mentor?
just influential. So,
Yeah.
so like for instance, in my life growing up, my grandfather was the most influential person. He was like a father to me. I was named after the son he never had, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, that would have to be my mom. She passed away about 12 years ago. Both my mom and my dad, solid Eastern European uh, stock,
yeah,
very strong moral center.
yeah,
That's where you get the household you grow up in, that's where you get your moral values and stuff. Very strong in that. Everybody says, "Oh, you remember when you were a kid and you stole something, you grabbed something from the 5 and dime?" I didn't.
yeah,
People say, who hasn't stolen something?
yeah,
And that was not allowed. If you came home with a toy and my mom didn't know what it was, where you got it, she'd say, "Where did you get that?"
right.
Well, I found it over, and go put it back there.
Yeah,
You did not take things that didn't belong to you.
yeah, that's not yours. Return it.
That served me well throughout that kind of thinking. And of course, thinking of the other guy, the other person, somebody might have wanted that.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to be raised. That's for sure. Priceless. So in high school, and I think I know the answer to this, but in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
My favorite subject in high school, I'm trying to think, probably history.
Okay.
Like I said,
history too.
History and English were always, I have a friend who also loves history. And the reason neither of us went into it is he says, history is a great hobby that if you get good enough at it, you can teach other people it.
Right.
It's not something that is a long-term career with a lot of potential necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not taking anything away from people who do history. I love history, like I said, but that was probably my favorite subject. I also loved biology. I also loved English and writing.
Yeah.
Obviously, read a lot. Always read a lot. I remember being a kid in Detroit and the summer going to the library and spending like 4 hours there reading for two reasons. I love to read, and the books were all there.
Yeah.
And number two, it was air conditioned.
Yeah.
Which we were not. So yeah, probably history.
Cool.
To this day, I read a lot of military history and things like that.
There you go. Next question. Why did you choose Wayne State?
Financial reasons.
Okay.
It was in Detroit. I got a full merit scholarship for it.
There you go.
Everything but books. All the tuition.
That's awesome.
And I could live at home.
Yeah.
I went to Michigan, which I actually got my master's in Michigan, University, or Michigan State, or someplace like that. You had to live. We didn't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And my parents always said, "We will put you through grade school, Catholic grade school, and we will put you through high school, Catholic high school. After that, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You make the money or get the loans or whatever for your college." So this was perfect for me. It was like very good school.
Yeah.
That was, I could live at home and go for free.
And you got your bachelor's degree in
biology.
Gotcha. And that was so that you could get into veterinary school at Michigan State.
Right. I went to Michigan State the summer of 1978. I actually had to go in the spring because there were 3 courses that were required pre-vet that could not get at Wayne.
Okay.
One of them was a biochemistry course, but there were 3 others that had to do with food science and poultry science and things like that, which obviously Wayne State, you could study cockroaches, but you couldn't study chickens.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. So where did you get your PhD again?
Rutgers University, basically.
Rutgers, okay.
The University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. It's a university within the Rutgers system.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about your first book, Project Suicide. It's a novel. I mean, they're both novels, right? What's Project Suicide about?
Project Suicide is a story of how a cure for Alzheimer's disease is perverted into an assassination drug. Now, high-profile politicians are killing themselves, and only a drunken genius can save your country.
Wow.
That's the song. That's the elevator pitch. If I ever get into a elevator with Steven Spielberg, that's what I'll say.
There you go. There you go. Steven Spielberg's obviously an idol, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, in writing, my big three are Stephen King,
Yeah.
Ernest Hemingway, and Elmore Leonard.
There you go.
King is the king of characters development.
Yeah.
Hemingway was a visionary, taught us how to write without purple prose and still make it meaningful.
Yeah.
And Elmore Leonard's the king of dialogue.
There you go. Cool. Okay, so Checkout Time.
Checkout Time is the story of a mysterious extortion bomber known only as Conrad Hilton, who is trying to make
Wait a minute, Conrad Hilton?
Well, it's his pseudonym.
Oh, I got you.
And he's looking to make a killing from a consortium of hotel owners.
Okay.
He bomb their hotels unless they pay him money.
Oh, wow.
He's pursued by a beautiful FBI agent and a handsome government researcher who is modeled after me.
Yeah.
Until he turns the tables and the hunters become the hunted.
Wow. Interesting. Nice little plot twist.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's in the future for you writing?
I have quite a few books right now that are on the computer in various drafts that I'm starting to pitch to publishers and agents.
Yeah.
One is a serial killer story that involves, it's called The Peeper, that involves social media. And he finds his victims through social media. And there's a kind of government bureaucrat who gets enmeshed in all of this because of his actions on social media.
Gotcha.
There is a chick lit kind of book, kind of like Hallmark, that I wrote, which is not really a thriller, called "And a Child Shall Lead Him," about a older veterinarian whose wife passes away, and he always wanted a child, and now he's going to try to get one. And the plot goes off from there. It's right. I don't mean he's going to steal one, but and then there's a couple more. One's a horror thriller about an enchanted book that a guy gets for his birthday, and one or two others.
So I'm intrigued about the assassin, the pro bono assassin book.
Oh, that's just sitting there. If I ever become famous, it'll probably be pulled out again and made into, fixed up. Because as you're a writer and you're honing your craft over years, you go back and read early stuff you wrote and you go, ooh, that could have been a lot better. So that's the situation it's sitting at right now. It's still like a second draft.
So when you write a novel, how many drafts do you go through? How many different versions do you go through before you end up getting it published?
That's an interesting question that people always tend to ask, because a lot of people think this is kind of the Hollywood version of writing a novel.
Yeah. You
go away to a mountain retreat for a month, you come back with this novel, you send it to a publisher, and it makes $1 million.
Right.
It doesn't really work that way. Wherever you are, you're writing for 6, 8 months, 5 months, a year, depending on your speed and what else is in your life.
Yeah.
And you complete a first draft.
Yeah.
And it sits anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months or more while you work on other stuff, short stories, revising another novel, whatever, because you need time. So when you look at it the second time, you have fresh eyes.
Okay. So
And
you're
then,
not
right,
like this. Okay, I got you.
if you started revising right after you did it, it's too new.
Yeah.
You are filling things in your head, and you're not reading like a reader. You're reading like the person who wrote it.
Gotcha.
You already know what it is.
So is that the key to it? Reading it like a reader?
Yeah, and that's what editors really do.
Yeah, they start with the end in mind, right?
Right. So once it's been sitting for a while, you pick it up again and you go through it 2 to 4 weeks, revising, making changes, saying this is slow, I got to speed it up. This is not needed. They say in writing you got to kill your darlings. You may write a couple of paragraphs that are absolutely they sing in your mind, but they slow the story down.
Oh.
And you got to cut them out of there, drop them in a file somewhere, maybe use them later.
Yeah.
But now they got to go.
Yeah.
So you do some of that, you add material, fleshing out characters more, maybe adding in some foreshadowing for something that occurs later on.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting story about that for checkout time that I'll get to in a minute. So you do stuff like that, maybe do a little more research in some area and fill some gaps in. And then that sits for a while while you're working on other things. And you'll probably do, before it would go to a professional editor, probably do between 4 and 7 drafts.
Okay.
And this whole process can obviously take several years.
Yeah.
That's why, at least for me, always have something in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So, the Peeper novel that I talked about, that's in a file on my computer called 2018 novel, which means I started it in 2018.
Right.
And so it's been going through various revisions and drafts since that time. And now I think it's to the point where a professional editor publisher could look at it.
Right.
That's why I'm pitching it.
Gotcha.
But so yeah, that's the process. And when you become famous like Stephen King or something, you go pull those trunk novels out and you sell those, your laundry list, you sell that. But for the rest of us, you keep refining.
Where does the inspiration come from?
Writers are like actors. We people watch, we pick up characters and stuff that way. But we also idea watch. We see things and make a note, either a mental note, or I actually have a file on my phone that I jot down. And most of it comes down to what if. What if this happened and that happened? What if a killer shark was terrorizing a seaside community and the chief of police was afraid of the water? You got Jaws.
Yeah.
What if a bunch of people are out on a spaceship and they come across a creature that is, you got alien.
Yeah.
So it's all what if.
Yeah.
For checkout time, my first what if, and that's about the extortion bomber. My first what if was probably going back about 20 years. I was in a hotel room and I was on the top floor and I sat on the bed and looked up and there's a trap door in the ceiling. And it had one of those little the little keyhole, but you could tell if you put a paper clip up there, it would turn it. It's not designed to really keep people out.
Right.
And I said, wow, you could put something up there. What could you put up there? What if? You could put drug money up there. And some businessman comes in and is putting his clothes away and the money falls at his feet. Now you've got a mob, like crime thriller.
Right.
You could put data tapes or discs up there. And now you've got an espionage thriller.
Yeah.
My go-to was put a bomb up there.
Yeah.
And the reason is that I like things that blow up.
Apparently.
Throughout my life, anything, caps, fireworks. I made my own gunpowder as a kid. Anything that blew up or burned, I liked it.
I love it. You should have been a SEAL.
Yeah. So he said, okay, you put a bomb up there. Why?
Yeah.
It could be for revenge.
Yeah.
It could be for just because you like to kill people and start fires in hotels, Or, and this is the idea that stuck with me. It was based actually on a 1970s movie called Roller Coaster. I don't know if you ever saw it. Most people have. I really like it. We watch it frequently at my house. I have it on DVD.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast: George Segal, Henry Fonda, Richard Widmark, Harry Gardino, Susan Strasberg, a very, very young Helen Hunt, who plays George Segal's daughter.
Wow.
It's a good cast, good story. And the story is basically this kind of cold, calculating extortionist blows up a roller coaster. And of course, a bunch of people are killed.
Yeah.
And then he gives a message to this group of amusement park owners. I'm going to do another one unless you give me $1 million or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been $500,000. I can't remember. But that to me said, okay, you could do the same thing with hotels.
Yeah.
And so I've got a consortium of hotel owners, and our government researcher gets enmeshed in this whole process because he's in one of the hotels when the first bomb goes off.
Right.
This is the beautiful FBI agent. They're both on the same floor, the 8th floor of a hotel.
Wow. This is cool.
And
I love how all this comes together. Like it comes from different places, this sort of
Yeah.
creative process.
It's what if,
Yeah.
it sounds like a cliche, but it really is. What if this happens? And what if that happens? And it goes like that through your head.
Right. That's cool. I love it.
Now, Project Suicide, the inspiration from that was my father-in-law passed away around, about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And I used to visit him every week. Great guy and brilliant engineer for Ford for many years. Did engine development. You know the movie Ford versus Ferrari?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was involved in engine development for that.
Oh, wow.
At that time. But he was starting to get a form of dementia.
Oh.
It wasn't as serious as Alzheimer's, but he would ask questions like, what time is it?
Right.
There's a clock on the wall, and you tell him it's 2 o'clock. He'd say, AM or PM?
Yeah.
Now it's light out.
Yeah.
It's in the afternoon, Joe. And okay, that kind of stuff. So driving home today, I thought, well, that's really a shame that can happen.
Yeah.
And, I know they're working on a cure for it.
Yeah.
But what if started going through my head?
Yeah.
I said, what if they found a cure? But what if the cure had a side effect? So on the one hand, you have something that cures Alzheimer's, but it's got a bad side effect. What's the bad side effect? And for some reason, it came to me, the bad side effect is it makes you want to kill yourself. And, there's a gene for self-preservation, which I made up, which is right next to the Alzheimer's gene. And so when the drug blocks the Alzheimer's gene, it also blocks this. And now you want to kill yourself, self-loathing.
Wow.
And I said, yeah. What if they gave it to somebody who didn't have Alzheimer's? It would do the same thing. Now you've got an assassin's dream, right? Because the people are killing themselves. Who
Right.
can be for it?
Right.
And that was the genesis of Project Suicide.
Like leading the lambs to the slaughter, right?
Yeah. I mean, you basically, it's an assassin's dream.
Yeah.
If you slip this drug to somebody, they kill themselves and solve your problem for you.
That is wild. That is really wild. So let me ask you a question. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
It's I want to make sure people know where they can get these books.
Oh, we're going to put a link to your book. We're going to
Okay.
put a link in your description. Yeah,
And-
we'll make sure.
And
Tell us where they can get them. Just
Okay,
real quick, and then we'll put a
easiest
description link.
is just enter in a Google search or whatever, projectsuicidenovel.com, all one word. That'll take you directly to Amazon.
Gotcha.
Checkouttimenovel.com, all one word, will take you directly to Amazon for checkout time.
Okay. We'll put links to both of those in your description.
Or you can get on my my website, which is thrillerjohnb.net.
Thriller John B.
Thrillerjohnb.net.
.net. Okay.
There's links to them, or you can cut and paste directly. And yeah, that's the easiest way to get them. They're also on Ingram, so the big book distributors. You can get them at Barnes and Noble, or your bookstore can order them for you. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Contact me, and I'll send you we can work out a signed copy.
You got it. John, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
Thank you, Mike. The time just flew by. I had a blast.
I know, it was amazing. Will you come back when you have your next book ready?
Absolutely.
We'd love to have you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good day today.
You too, Mike. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.